Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Mondays with Ira Bowman. This is a unique show. We're doing a part 2. Yes, if you watch me for any length of time, you know I can be long-winded. I had a whole list of things that I wanted to get through with part 1. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about social media. Let me just share my screen and we'll share sound at the same time, so we'll be all ready for everything once we get moving. But last week, if you missed it, you might want to go back and watch the episode. You can find it on my website. In fact, I went ahead and added the full version of the show right here in this blog. So I'll share this link in just a second. In fact, let me grab this and put it in the comments so you guys have it. Find the full article and last week's show here. All right, so this is going to be on YouTube and it's going to be on LinkedIn. I'm also broadcasting live from Facebook, although I don't monitor those comments from Facebook Direct. I do them through a platform called StreamYard. Anyways, in this, what did I do? I really went through and I shared the ranking of the top 7 social media platforms in 2023 to date. And why did I do that? Well, I did it for one very simple reason. There are 4.9 billion people using social media each and every month. That's called monthly active users. And of those, the average person visits 6 to 7, in other words, 6 or 7 on average, social media platforms each and every month. Which ones are they visiting? Well, I took out chat rooms. So to be fair, apps like WhatsApp rank number 3. But I pulled those out because it's not true social media, in my opinion, because there's no algorithm, and it's more like I consider those to be chat rooms, not to be social media platforms. Although certainly you could be social on there, but I excluded those, and then I listed or ranked the top 7 that were left. Anything that has an algorithm, basically, that determines what you see and what you don't see. In today's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to give tips and methods that I use and some of my peers use because they're best practices. So, some of your best practices for social media, I'm going to reveal on the show today. So, if you're like, hey, I make content and no one sees it, I don't get comments, I don't get shares, I don't get the likes or whatever, I'm going to help you. And I'm going to do that for each of these platforms. We're going to go over some strategies for each platform. So, if you have a specific question about any of these platforms, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll get to them in just a moment. But these 7 are the top 7 in use today. And I give you a lot of information here in the article. Let me just increase this for just a second because it's kind of small, and I want people to be able to see it. So let me just blow this up so you can see this list. Okay. Facebook has over 3 billion monthly active users. They're number 1. Now they haven't grown very much, but there's this false information or narrative out there that Facebook is somehow losing ground, rescinding users. They have less users today than they had before. That's all incorrect. Facebook last year in 2022 had 2.9 billion monthly active users. This year, even though they haven't grown a lot, they have continued to grow. They're over 3 billion monthly active users. So just make sure the information that you're getting out there is trustworthy. And so that's one of the reasons why I do work like this, to help educate people. YouTube is number 2, 2.5 billion monthly active users. That's as of right now. They have been growing like a weed. In fact, they added 1.5 billion monthly active users to the 1 billion they already had from 2022. So they've grown the most, and they're in second place. They used to be tied with Instagram last year at 1 billion each, and now Instagram is doubled. Also very impressive. What makes this interesting, most interesting to me, is most of my viewers, my largest audience, is still on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn comes in all the way at number 7, as you can see, 310 million monthly active users. That number actually is down from last year. Not a huge drop, but 10 million monthly active users less. So you hear the rumors about Facebook lowering, decreasing in size, when it's not true, and actually the opposite is true. And you hear things about LinkedIn is growing. I saw some stuff out there that LinkedIn has a billion users officially, and while that's true, they only have 310 million people who actually come and use it in any given month on average. So you have a large part of the platform, over 2/3 of the platform, is not active at all, and that's a problem. So part of the goal of all of this is to help people see that, first of all, numbers can be manipulated a little bit, right? I think everybody knows that. If you're doing any type of marketing research, you have to be really careful how you represent the data, because you want it to be factually accurate. I have nothing for sale here, so the data is just is here to help you. But in social media, there are a couple schools of thought that are just they're problematic, and I'm trying to show and help people to increase their visibility for a specific purpose. My goal is to help you accomplish your goals. So you have to know what your goals are. You have to know what you're trying to accomplish. Another thing that is really helpful is you need to identify, and I talked about this last week, your ICP, which is an acronym that stands for Ideal Client Profile. So if you can lock down what you're trying to accomplish and the target audience, you're in good shape if you read my article. Because in my article, I'll tell you some demographic information about each of the platforms. There's a lot. We went over it last week. Watch the episode. Like men versus women, white collar versus blue collar, degree versus no degree, ages, young, old, male, female. Some of these demographics can make a huge difference because that's your part of your ICP or it isn't. And another thing that is just it's prevalent. It really is. It's prevalent and it's unfortunate. But there's too many people out there that are quote unquote content creators. So they're making some content and putting it out for public consumption. And they view everything through a filter that I would call a consumer mindset. In other words, Facebook is my preference, or LinkedIn is my preference, or YouTube is my preference, or TikTok is my preference. Okay, that's great until you realize that you're not part of your ICP. Your ICP is outside of you. So you have to go where your audience is. You have to create content and put up content where the people are that you're trying to attract. And then you've got to create it in forms, which we're going to get into today too. You like, when should you use a photo? When should you use a video? When should you do text only? Hashtags, what hashtags to use, strategies. One of my Instagram strategies that blows a lot of people's minds are I purposely don't use the largest of hashtags on Instagram. And people go, well, why do you do that? Why wouldn't you want to use the largest ones? We'll get into that later. But I'm just trying to set the table here. So social media is not as complicated, or it doesn't need to be as complicated as many people have made it out. But it's also not as simplistic as, well, if I like it, everybody must like it, right? Because that's not true. Some people hate having a shaved head. I am not actually bald. I could grow 90. All right, I'll be kind and say 90% of the hair on my head. I'm not completely bald by any stretch of the imagination. I have a receding hairline up at the top and the front, and I'm not very tall. I'm only 5'7". So I am uncomfortable having my hair grown out because I don't want people staring at the top of my head. I just feel self-conscious about it. So for me, I would rather shave my head than have it. But that's my personal preference. My wife doesn't mind. I won't say she's attracted to my shaved head, but I'll say that she doesn't mind the way it looks, right? So that's the only audience that I need to really worry about, myself and my wife. I don't give a rip, frankly, what other people think about my personal appearance, because I'm not trying to court them or date them or any of those things, right? But with social media, it's a little bit different because I'm trying to reach a very specific group. Who am I trying to reach? And I'll just speak from the first person. I'm trying to reach small business owners that are in the service industry. So, in other words, I'm looking for accountants, authors, coaches, attorneys. I mean, all of these different types of people. You know, it could be a personal chef, air conditioning company, a concrete company, power washing company, somebody that's maybe like in the marketing space. I have marketing clients, even though I run a marketing company, right? So they do service things for a living. That's who we specialize. So why do I do that? Well, part of it is when you're trying to figure out, and that's the point of the show, what content to create, and also, oh, we got somebody from my hometown, Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, I don't currently live in Las Vegas, but I was raised in Vegas and I lived in Vegas as an adult. It is my hometown. I love it. Uh, um, my logo, you might have noticed, is Raider colors, and that's because I'm a huge Raider fan. But when I was a kid in Vegas, not only were the Raiders good back then, which was, it's been a minute since they've been good, but they were the team that was shown locally on the local channels. So, anyways, that influenced who I became a fan of. Anyways, I'm so happy that they're there. Even though they lost, I thought they actually looked pretty good last week against Miami. None of you are here to listen to me talk about football, but I could talk about it all day, every day. I love football. Anyways, welcome, whoever you are. It doesn't actually show me your name here. I don't know what's going on with that, but anyways, for some reason I can't see it. So when I'm creating content, I need to keep in mind my ICP, small business owners, service-based industry, and then I need to figure out, which I've done, and I've helped you guys in this. I'll just go back to it. So if we come back to this article and we scroll down, I call them fun demographics on social media usage there, but then For each platform, I have so here's demographics and analytics for Facebook, um, for YouTube, for Instagram, for TikTok, for X, you might know it as Twitter, uh, Pinterest, LinkedIn. So I've given you analytics and demographics for each of the platforms. And now, why is that important? It's important really because of this. If you're putting your bait, let's use a fishing analogy. If you're trying to catch salmon and you're fishing in a pond that's primarily full of trout, the odds of you being successful, even though you might have salmon bait, it's not very likely that you're going to catch salmon. Why? Because the pond or the lake or the ocean that you're fishing in doesn't have the type of you know client, the fish. They're the wrong fish. So if you can tell me your ICP, your ideal client profile, the demographics, let's say college educated, 30s to 50s, C suite, uh, income north of, $100,000 a year. Well, I can tell you on that data, with that data, I could tell you which platforms your fish are more likely to be swimming in. And it's shocking as it might sound, the demographics that I just laid out, the number one answer many of you would probably guess is LinkedIn, and that's actually not true. So if you go through the data in the article, which is free for everybody, you can click on the link that I shared. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've got it right here. So I've got it on LinkedIn and I've got it on YouTube. You can click on this link and go to this article. And if you do that, then you can have access to all this data. There is so much more out there. But what I tried to do is just give you like the highlights that I thought would really make a difference. And again, if you haven't watched last week's show, you can go ahead and watch it here. It's on my YouTube channel, it's on my website in a couple different places, but it's in this article. So I just tried to make this uh, as easy for you guys to consume and then apply this data. All right. So that's all by way of review and just setting the stage for what we're going to do on today's show. So before we get into how to create the content, let's just talk about a couple different things to keep in mind for your platform content creation. First of all, you need to figure out which platforms to be on. I would tell you this: if you're a small business owner or you're in sales or in any way trying to generate clients, generate interest in what it is that you're doing with the posts that you're putting out, you probably should keep in mind what I said before. There are 4.9 billion monthly active users. That's a lot of people. It's most of the planet. It's not everybody, but it's like 5/7 of the planet. Okay. So most people are on social media. So your clients or your prospects are somewhere on social media. But where are they? All right. So the fact is, most of them are on multiple platforms. So what I would tell you is you should have at least a company profile, a business page on all 7 of these platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Have a profile, have a company page, put a little bit on there. Even if you're not going to use Facebook because you don't understand the power of 3 billion monthly active users and it's the number one used um, website, or you don't know how to make video content, so you don't have a YouTube channel, I would suggest you source that to somebody. You can go to Bowman Digital Media, you can go to Fiverr, Upwork, you could go all kinds of places. You probably have some millennials or Gen Zs uh, in your circle or working at your company that could help you too, right? Don't be afraid to reach to the younger generation who are a little bit more tech savvy maybe than you are, especially if you're, a boomer or a Gen X who is a little earlier in the Gen X side. So let's say you're, you know, upper 50s, mid 50s, something like that. And you're just like, the IRA, these whippersnappers, they do all these technical things and they're playing on their phone all the time. All right. If that's you, right, then you get some help. Get some help. Um, this is important. There is, let me just tell you this just straight away. There is no other place on the planet where you can make a bigger impact to increase your visibility, to generate sales, interest from prospects to turn into clients than online. Online, if you're not online, you're irrelevant in most cases now. I'm not saying that that's completely true because there are people who still work from an old contact database. We used to call it the Rolodex, right? So they've got a filing cabinet somewhere, and they've been around so long, they don't really need a lot of new clients, and they get good word of mouth. And you can, especially if you have a very small organization, let's say you're a solopreneur, a single person working, directly with clients, you might not need to be online. But if you want to scale it all and you want to have a big team and you want to do global business, you have to have a website. You have to. And you have to have social media. These are just prerequisites to growing, to building your sales. So hopefully you guys understand that, right? You're watching a show about digital marketing, so hopefully you get that. Okay. If you don't, reach out to me. We can have a conversation. I can explain it to you, and I won't embarrass you. We just have a one-on-one conversation and talk about that. I'd love to help you if you are struggling with why you need this stuff. All right. But even more so, you need to have a profile on each of these platforms. Now, you might not be active on all of them all the time. You might not be regularly posting and going there to comment. And again, if you're the business owner, you probably shouldn't be the one doing all that, but somebody should be doing it for you. And there's a strategy for you. All right. Now, once you have your ideal client profile built, and that's part of any general marketing, you guys should understand that, right? That need. So you're filling that part out. Uh, I can tell you, or anybody that's worth their salt in marketing can tell you then, okay, well, these are the platforms based on who you're going after, which ones you should be active in. Now we're talking about generating regular content, posting on a regular basis, whether that's every day, which I would recommend on some platforms like X. You need to be posting all the time because the typical life cycle of a tweet, they still call it a tweet, even though it's no longer Twitter, it's X, but they still call it a tweet for some reason. But you need to put up a post or a tweet every 7 minutes or so because the life cycle of a tweet is only 7 minutes on average. So some of these require more work. Pinterest pin is pretty much evergreen. So of all the ones, Pinterest, you don't need to do nearly as much or as often. LinkedIn is got a little bit longer. Usually it's about 48 hours is the general life cycle of one post. Now you can certainly post more frequently. You could post 6 times a day if you want without any harm. I do like to space them out at least 4 hours, but you don't have to. You can post them, hour after hour. Now, there are things that are algorithm friendly and there's things that are not algorithm friendly. And so you have to kind of keep an eye on how your posts perform. Try some different things. We call this A/B testing. So again, just we haven't even got into like the details yet. I'm about to. But for any platform, you can do what's called A/B testing. So let's say you're not sure, should I do video? Should I do photo? Should I do text only? Should I tag a bunch of people? Should I use hashtags? Should I use big hashtags, little hashtags? I'll get into what that means in a second. Right? Like there's all these variables. The easiest and simplest way to figure it out is to set up posts in different styles, post them, and then see how they do naturally. This one did good. This one didn't do so good. Try to figure out by changing one element at a time of day of the week, uh, content type, mix it up. And this is what's helpful if you have a marketing agency or a team working on your behalf, because we can A B test a lot of stuff fast because we have a lot of people working on our behalf, right? For you. So If you're doing it yourself, though, you can still A/B test. I used to A/B test all the time back in 2018, 2019 when I was working by myself. 2020 when I started Bowman Digital Media, and I was still the only full-time person working on my client's behalf. Right, I was still doing all the A/B testing by myself. Funnels can be great. Somebody just asked, what about funnels? Funnels can be good, but funnels aren't the end all be all, right? And again, your ICP is gonna determine that. And usually, what you mean by funnels, just so we're all using the same terminology, um, funnel is usually a landing page. So it's a page on your website specifically set up to generate excitement, build what we call fear of missing out or FOMO, also to emphasize what we call LTOs, limited time offers. So usually you see a lot of counters, like you've got 4 hours to make this decision if you want to save 20%, or if you buy in the next 24 hours, you'll get a second one free or whatever, right? And it works down. They're usually just set up to design or to sell like a course or a product or whatever, but there's some pressure with these timers, and of course nobody wants to talk about that openly, right? Because you don't want to feel like you're manipulating people, but funnels do what funnels do, and they can be very effective. So with social media, the funnel is more about how you promote the funnel on social media. Are you doing it organically by making posts? Are you doing PPC campaigns to promote the funnel? And if you're not familiar with that, that's just the advertising that you would see, right? And every platform pretty much works the same with that. You're on an auction basis, bidding for views. You only get charged when somebody clicks on it. And then hopefully they come over into the funnel, and the funnel does what the funnel is supposed to do. So maybe we'll do in a future episode a show all about funnels, because I've not addressed that. In fact, I don't even think I've written an article on funnels. So I don't know who said that, because my video over on LinkedIn is, well, let me see if I can just update it or refresh it, but it's behind. I'm like, I had hit the pause button somehow and it got me behind. Yeah, okay, so now I'm caught up. So who said that? I don't know. I still can't see. Yeah. Sorry. I've got a lag here. Got a lag. So, we got somebody watching. MD Masad is watching from Facebook. Hey, by the way, you said check my messages, and I didn't have anything. So whatever you were trying to send me in Facebook Messenger, send it again, or find me on LinkedIn, send it to me there. Either way. Lisa. All right, cool. Well, we'll do a show on funnels. And if you have specific questions about funnels, why don't you send them to me? And if I need to do some prep, I can do some prep, and then maybe we'll even do it next week. That would be fun. I mean, funnels are an effective sales tool, marketing tool. I'm a big fan of funnels. I don't think there's anything wrong with funnels at all. I think some people do a better job of setting up their funnels than others. Maybe I could find a couple ones that I really like and show them as samples of what to do and the elements that I like about them. The one thing about funnels that I will say is make sure that you optimize. And I think I talked about this last week, but thank you. It's good to meet you too. And I appreciate your support on Facebook. All right. With your websites, I actually just did a live speech. I was a co-organizer with Joel Phillips for Gain Ontario. We're going to be doing more of those. And the next one's going to be in San Diego in 2024. When I was on stage, I was talking about the need for mobile-friendly websites, because over 60% of the population is on a mobile device, right? We all got these phones. 60% plus are using phones now for all their web visits, right? So what is a reasonable cost to set up a funnel? It kind of depends a little bit, but I'll tell you somewhere between $500 and $1,000 is what we would charge here at Bowman Digital Media. So if you're paying more than $1,000, you're probably paying too much. Paying less than 500, you're probably working with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and so that could be a problem. It's got to be set up correctly, right? So just depends a little bit, but that give you an idea, a yardstick to compare against, anyways. And if you want to set up a specific quote request, just reach out and I can quote it for you. But funnels usually don't take that long to set up. Talking about like 48 hours, 72 hours, I can have a funnel ready and operational pretty quick. Okay. Apologize. I kind of lost my place. Oh, mobile friendly. Make sure everything you're doing is mobile friendly. I rebuilt Bowman Digital Media recently and emphasized the mobile view as the primary because I know that that is not only where people are. Yeah, I'll look at it as soon as the show's over. I checked it when you put that in my comments yesterday. I checked it and I didn't see anything, so I don't know. But again, if you want to be sure, just go over to my LinkedIn profile, as I have a LinkedIn Premium account. Everybody can message me. They do. I get spam like every 5 seconds. But anyways, uh, send it. You can send it over there, and I'll definitely get it if Facebook is not letting it through for some reason. Okay, so let's get into this. I feel like we're a little bit off topic here, and I want to make sure I get through some of this stuff. I want to give you actionable tips for social media. So here we go. Once you have your ICP, once you know or you have your baseline is set, you've got a profile on each of the 7 platforms that I referenced. And let me just share this again, and you guys can see it just in case you're not familiar. These platforms are the ones that you want to have a profile for, at least bare minimum, on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. Have a profile on each of those. Why? Because even if you're not gonna, let's go back to that analogy that I was just saying, and you have the salmon bait in a pond that's mostly full of trout. Well, there still could be some salmon in there. So if they hit it, right, like a crab pot, if they hit it, you still want to be able to point them over to your you want to point them over to your website. Really, everything with social media is to garner interest, to raise visibility, and draw them in to your website. That itself is like a funnel, but the funnel here is a little bit different. It's just getting them to the website. And then the website should be able to do what the website is supposed to do, which is capture their attention, give them the information that they need, answer their FAQs, right? Give them the help that they need, let them establish your credibility, and then generate interest to either create the contact. So you have that consultation. That's what we do at Bowman Digital Media. Nothing is for sale per se on my website. It's not an e-commerce platform. So my conversion on Google is, people filling out the contact form and booking an appointment. That's a conversion rate, okay, for me. On the flip side, if you have something for sale, like a product, a course, a book, whatever, and it's for sale, then your conversion might be to get them to just buy now, right? Add it to the cart, pay, all that stuff. So the website should be able to draw them from wherever they come into the purchase cycle or into the booking a consultation, because usually it's one or the other is the main goal, right? So it's also why we do email campaigns, why you should have newsletters, because you're capturing their email address or contact information, and then you can send out the emails periodically just so that you stay top of mind. And what should you be sharing? This is off topic, but I'll just give it to you for free right now. Your newsletters should not be all about you. It really should be actionable advice, just like this show, that people can take for whatever it is that you do, apply it to that what they need, and be better for getting the information, right? So think of it as educational, helpful content. And that is one of the things that you want to do with your social media posts. Now, I don't care if you're on whatever platform, your content should really do one of 3 things. Okay. So you want to write this down if you're taking notes. First tip. In fact, I'm gonna put it in the notes here. Okay. So first tip, posts should always be educational. And what I mean by that is you're helping them with things that inside your area of expertise that they need to know. For example, how to create social media content. This show is educational. All right. But it also could be, and you should mix this up. We'll talk about the ratios in just a second. It also could be entertainment. Because don't forget, social media is social. I think a lot of people forget that, especially on LinkedIn. And then the third kind is personal. But we'll give a caveat to that in just a second. Okay. So it's always one of the one of the three. And then we'll talk about these two because there's subcategories of these. So these are the main categories, right? So first tip I'm sharing today, that's brand new for today, right? Make sure your posts, I don't care if it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, any of it. They should always fall into one of these three categories and probably should only be one of these three categories at a time. Like, don't try to be educational and entertainment at the same time. Why? Because you want people, when you're doing the education stuff, to take you seriously. And when you're being funny or trying to, lighten the room, you don't want people to think that that's part of your, like your education is weak. So you have to supplement it with some humor. I think that's a mistake. So, for example, if y'all are okay, I can't connect with you because I'm maxed out, but I will read the message and I'll follow you. So when you go to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, it automatically follows that profile. But I will follow you back. I follow everybody on LinkedIn who follows me back. I've 186,000 followers, I believe, and I follow everybody back. So there you go. I do that on every platform, pretty much. I think it's a social thing to do. All right. So back to this. It's educational, meaning you're explaining things about your industry. Here's what's cool about that. It's a way to sell without actually selling because you're demonstrating. You're demonstrating you're a subject matter expert or an SME. You're demonstrating that through the education. Like, I don't have to tell you I'm an expert on social media. You can watch my content, you can read my content, and I demonstrate it. And what does that do? Most of the people I deal with, most people that I deal with, if I asked them, I'm talking about business owners here, small business owners or sales reps. I was a sales rep for 20 years, right? If I asked them, hey, what's your number one source of new business? Probably 99 out of 100 people are going to tell me referrals. And you can gain more referrals with social media by not spamming people. And what do I mean by that? It is, oh my gosh, if I took you over into my LinkedIn box or my Facebook box or my Instagram box or my X box, oh, that's funny. X box. Anyways, X inbox, right? Over on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, right? So if I take you over there, I mean, it is just relentless. It wears me out. Sometimes I get social media fatigue, meaning I don't even want to go on social media because I know as soon as I get there, I'm gonna check my messages because you always have some good stuff mixed in with the garbage. But the ratio of garbage, people trying to sell me something, they don't know me. I didn't ask for it. I'm not interested in it, right? And then they want to follow up. Like, hey, did you see my message? You mean the spam you sent me? Yeah, I saw. You wanna double down on the spam? Thanks. Appreciate that for trying to waste my time. Anyways, and then I get people that will email me and message me on every platform. And I'm like, bro, I wouldn't do business with you anyways because you don't have social etiquette, right? Like, you gotta remember this stuff. But you're not getting referrals that way. You're just irritating people. But a way that you can get referrals is do educational content. And I think that the ratio of educational content should be relatively high. Like, of the three, let me just go back to this and show, right? Of the three, educational should be probably like 60 to 70% of your post content. This is in your core subject, helping people. So keep in mind with educational, entertainment, personal, if you can do it in ways that are easy to digest. In other words, short content, quick bites. When I have longer content, when I write longer posts, if you ever watch what I do, here's another tip for you. Use So I've got two different points here that really, I'm combining, but it's extremely important to do this. Okay. So here we go. Tip two. or second tip, right? If you have long form content, and what do I mean by that? It's wordy, right? You got 300 words, you got 500 words, you got a lot of content. The fact is, most people don't want to read it. They really don't, and they won't read it, but they will scan it. Like they'll scroll through it and read it quickly, but they're not really reading it. They're just trying to pick up the gist, right? So one of the things that I like to do is I pick a singular emoji, like a diamond or a check mark, something like that, and I use it like bullet points, right? Gives it just a little visual element. I'm a graphic designer, so I love the visual part, right? But the goal is to have it to make it create it in a way that it's easy to consume. Now, if you're doing that and you're doing, something that's helpful and educational and you're giving it away for free and there's no strings attached, right? It's just like, hey, follow me for more. And I say this on almost all my posts. I say, follow me for more information on and tips on digital marketing, SEO, graphic design, photography, right? Follow me for these things. And I tell people that all the time, right? But I share 60 to 70% of my content. If you go back and just, audit what Ira's doing on any of these platforms, you're going to find that's what it is, right? But you'll also see some stuff that's funny. I shared a post, I think it was Saturday. I shared a post Saturday on LinkedIn that I had done a photo shoot at my house for a 1-year old. Actually, he was a day. No, he was one the day I shared it, but the photos were actually done on Friday. But I shared the post on, well, Friday on Facebook, Saturday on LinkedIn. Okay. That is not, it really doesn't have anything to do with, here's how to take pictures of babies or, the positioning or the lighting or any of the technical aspects that went into it. It was just for the cuteness factor. And that would fall into the entertainment, right? Because even though this is a kid that we're very familiar with, we watch him, we were invited to his birthday party, all that stuff. I didn't get into that in the post, right? If we went to the post and you saw it, or go to my LinkedIn profile and look at it, you'll see, right? It's just, I think, 9 pictures of like 200 that I took that day that I shared and said, hey, look at this kid. He's, great smile. It was, a lot of fun. I shared the pictures. The post did really well because think about it like the comics section in the newspaper. There are people who did what when everybody got the paper, and now hardly anybody gets the paper. But back in those days, what would you do? You pretty much were one of several kinds of people, but there were a lot of people who would get the paper and they would go for right away the comic section or the sports section, which is entertainment, right? So they're going for the entertainment part. Then there's people that are going there for the coupon section, the classified section, going to read the cover page, like they're in for the mainline news, right? And then so, anyways, it's different categories. But if you're tired of seeing cat videos on Facebook or on LinkedIn or on Instagram, but you're wondering, or TikTok, but you're wondering why so many people do it. The reason why they do it, and this is tip number 3, you don't forget that social media is a social place. You need to have something interesting outside of your subject matter expertise that will there's a graphic that I wish I had at my fingertips. I'd pull it up right now. But your core audience, think of like a sphere, okay? And the platform, whatever platform we're talking about, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, doesn't matter, whichever one. Everybody on the platform creates this giant sphere, okay? And the spheres are different sizes, right? 3 billion monthly active users versus 310 million. So the spheres do change in size. But not everybody that's in the whole entirety of the platform is ever going to find you or be interested in your content at all. Could be a language issue. They speak Hindi and they don't speak English, right? They're on the other side of the world, different time zones, all this stuff. Like, you're probably not going to be effective in grabbing their attention with whatever you put out. But there are people in India who obviously, consume a lot of American content. And I don't know if it's half my following, but a large part of my following on many of the platforms come from India. And I'm thankful for them. Okay. But the fact is, if I'm putting out all only stuff that's in my SME, some of those people would not be interested in, because they only comment or share or engage on posts when I do some of the other types of comments or content. I create something personal about my daughter. I create something personal about my marriage. I create something personal about my health journey. Interestingly enough, of the three categories, educational, entertainment, and personal. Now, this is just me. So you might be a little bit different. But for me, on every platform, it's the same. My number one rate of response, views, shares, likes, all of it. I always get the most when I go personal. Now, I don't like to share my whole life online. If we have never met in person or we're not communicating in person, whether that's on the phone or whatever, privately, you may think you know everything about Ira Bowman, but I promise you know very, very little. I'm very selective in what I share with my personal stories, right? But I do try to share on some of the things like my weight loss journey. I've been very open with that. Not that, I share everything even about that. But so I'm selective. The stuff with my daughter, again, on LinkedIn even, right? People go, "You can't share personal stuff on LinkedIn. It doesn't work. People don't want it. It's not Facebook, blah, 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 blah." Ignore all those people. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. All right. In 2022 and 2023, all my number one posts, and what I mean by that, I mean by number of views, by number of comments, by number of shares, all that stuff, right? I call those vanity metrics. By vanity metrics alone, those are my most consumed, most supported posts, not the educational ones, which I think I give away a lot of great value, and not even the entertainment ones where I try to bring in a funny meme or video or share something that I found humorous or educational, or I'm sorry, entertaining. So for me, again, let's talk about content creation ratios. Really exciting stuff here, I know. But of these three, I try to do educational 60 to 70% of the time. Entertainment would be about 20%, and personal would be about 10%. Now, if you only go 60% with your educational, then you can bump up the entertainment to, 25 and go personal 15, something like that. Those are good ratios to aim for. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah. This is something that a lot of people, they're just not doing, Willard, and it's a mistake. Why is it? Well, here's what it is. And this is something called psychographics, but let's just make it simple. All right? People are people, and they relate to the personal, but also social media has this really bad part of it, aspect of it, where now I love Photoshop. Some use the word Photoshop. Some people might use the word filter, but let's just say it like it is. You see glimpses of people's lives, just like with mine. And I make no bones about that. You don't know me. You might think you do, but you don't. If we've never met, if you're not in my inner circle, you don't live in my roof, you don't know me like you think you do, right? I try to make people as comfortable with me as possible. And I'm very open about what I share, but there's a lot of things I don't share. I never talk about. You don't know, and you'll never know because we're not close, right? We're acquaintances online. Totally fine. But I will say this, because most people will never show you their warts. They won't show you the bad stuff. Like they won't take their shirt off and show you they're, you know, 50 pounds, 60 pounds overweight like I was, 6 months ago. I've lost 40 pounds in the last 6 months. That's true, and that's sad because that's my wife, right? It's true. I don't share everything, uh, for a variety of reasons, right? There's privacy concerns, and then there's just like, I have struggles that or demons that I deal with that I don't share. And anyways, it's not necessarily good to share all this stuff, right? Dirty laundry shouldn't be for public consumption. But sharing some more, it's like I shared through my weight loss journey when I wrote this when we wrote this book, Everyday Techniques to Overcome Anxiety and Mental Health Struggles. I shared openly that I was getting counseling, I was getting therapy, right? And why? Because I struggle with, some anger and some anxiety and depression and these things. And so one of the things that I found that really helped me, which was a happy accident, because I started doing the walking really to lose weight. And then I found through that process that it actually really helped me with my reduce my anxiety and depression. And so that was just a bonus, right? So I shared that. And I shared it not to glorify in my own problems or to celebrate my victory, but I shared it because I thought it could be helpful. Maybe there are other people that are struggling with, anxiety, mental health, stress, and things that never thought about walking as a potential solution. It's a free solution. Talk to doctors, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. Your body is producing endorphins." Or I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if I'm saying this right, but anyways, something about endorphins being stimulated in your body when you walk and makes you feel good. And anyways, there you go. So I shared some of that, right? And those stories, it's funny. I got a I got a summary email from Facebook talking about my performance of my posts, my content over the last 30 days. And I looked, and the number one post that my number one performing post based on the metrics alone on Facebook in the last 30 days was a picture where I took my shirt off and gave people an updated view of this hairy dad bod. Right. And I'm just trying to do that for a couple of reasons. A, it's accountability to me. If I know I'm going to take a picture every month or so with my shirt off, I want it to look better each and every time. So that's helpful to me. But also, what happens is I get a lot of people who are like, "Hey, man, that's inspiring. You're inspiring me. Like I'm doing this now too because I want to do what you're doing. I want the results that you're getting." And I tell everybody, "Okay, but you have to be committed because this is every day. I walk every single day at least 20,000 steps. I just don't miss. And even if I got to be out there hoofing it at 11 o'clock at night to get in my final steps for the day to make sure I hit that threshold, I do it. It's really funny, but I'm committed to it. And that's what it is. So sharing the personal, 10 to 15% of your content ratio is what I would suggest. But keep in mind with the personal, don't make it too personal, right? You don't want to be the angry guy. You don't want to be the vindictive person. You don't want to look like just be careful what you share, right? You're having troubles with an individual. Don't make that public. Take it to that person, right? So the personal stuff that I've shared, really, the two major things over the last couple of years that I've shared, the story of my daughter, and my wife created this page called Lizzie's Health Journal or Journey, and so a lot of people are following along with that, and it's really cool. It makes it easier for me to share some of the stuff that's going on because honestly, like my wife doesn't know everything about me. I don't know everything that's going on with my daughter. My wife is the lead on that, and so she educates me along with the rest of the world when she updates the Lizzie's Health Journal. But you can do it in a variety of ways. But the health journey and my daughter, well, they're both health journeys, right? One's about my mental health and physical weight loss, and the other is about my daughter. But I haven't really shared publicly about financial pressure and all the costs that have been associated. I didn't share stuff going on with my wife's medical history, um, struggles in our family. I haven't shared everything. Believe me, not by but not by a lot. And that's okay. You don't need to. Just pick a few things and then share about those things, right? Consider how it's going to make you look. Not that you're trying to whitewash what's going on in your life. It's just there is a such thing as a TMI. So be careful with that. All right. We have a lot more to cover. So let's talk about some of the specific platforms and what to do. Now that you know that you need a platform for all 7, but you do need to pick the ones that you're going to primarily fill out. Why? Because you're going to engage in that community more than the others. So with your ICP, let's say it is Facebook and YouTube, which those are the 2 largest ones. Okay. So if you're saying, well, I don't want to use YouTube, I don't want to use Facebook, you're probably missing, especially let me just give you some facts here. More Americans from 12, which is the baseline. They don't consider social media for anything under 12. So all the data is 12 and up. But there is no platform on planet Earth where you can reach more Americans than YouTube and Facebook. Okay. LinkedIn, for example, only has a very small percentage of people from America that use it every month. 310 million people total. I'm going to do the math real quick. I've never actually done this. So it's 310 million and only 25%. So it's 77.5 million Americans using LinkedIn every month. That might sound like a lot to you, but it's actually very small, right? 81% of Americans use YouTube every single month. I think it's 67%. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I think it's 67% of Americans use Facebook every month. And no other platforms anywhere close. The next closest one's down in the 40s, right? So if you think it's TikTok or you think it's Instagram or you think it's X or whatever, and you're going after just, let's say you're business to consumer and you're trying to sell widgets and you're trying to sell your widgets all over the United States and you're not using Facebook and you're not using YouTube, you're missing there's a huge opportunity cost that comes with that decision because the people, that's where they are. You got to fish where the fish are in the pond if you want to catch the fish, right? So once you're in each platform, I'm going to just give you some quick tips, right? Because I want to give you some stuff that will help you. With YouTube, I'm going to start with YouTube. The number one thing that you want to do for YouTube, well, it's even here. It's even on this, so I'll just share this again. So I created this thumbnail. It's not the best one because I hate my facial expression and it shows with the dot over it because you can click on this and actually watch the video. But this thumbnail, right, will help get more views than if you just have it auto generate. And the reason why is because it tells you exactly what the video is about. And it's got co-branding. The reason why I put these up here in this thumbnail, because people know exactly what this is. They may not understand social platforms. What do I mean by that? Because what is a social platform? You might not realize I'm talking about social media. But then once they have these, everybody on the planet pretty much knows what these are, right? So, sorry, I'm in admin mode, so I thought I was trying to edit that. But anyways, here we go, right? So use a thumbnail. Create a thumbnail. If you don't have a free account on Canva and you're not a graphic designer, go to Canva, Canva. Right here, let me just put the link. Third tip. What do I want to say? All right. So the third tip is this. You want to make sure that you are. I'm putting these on both platforms, by the way. Okay. So make sure you're setting up a thumbnail image for your YouTube videos. Why? Because it's not clickbait, but it's drawing the users in. Like if they are using the search button, searching for a topic on social platform and yours shows up in the list and you have a good thumbnail image that's inviting and draws people in, right? Like top social platforms of 2023 is what is in that thumbnail. That's the cover image, right? And so if you're trying to figure out, well, what were the top social platforms of 2023 and you see these here and you see this, you're more likely to click that than one if it was just me with the background, Bowman Digital Media in the background, right? I'm just talking into a mic. You're far more likely to get plays with a custom thumbnail than you are just with a generic you talking about something in the picture that was auto generated from YouTube. They do auto generate and they try to give you good ones, but usually they're not good enough. And I'll tell you, when you set these up, if you're not familiar with it, you want to set them up 1260 by 780. That's the size, okay? The pixel size that you want to set these thumbnails up, 1260 by 780. All right. That's just from a graphic designers out there. Okay. So that'll help you on YouTube. The other thing that I really want to tell you about YouTube is if you want to get a lot of views on YouTube, you can do shorts. That's what they call their short videos. And I like short video content for every platform. However, big caveat here. I talk about search engine optimization all the time for Google, but there's also search engine optimization for YouTube. And this is a huge tip. I'm going to write it down. For YouTube, you want content that's at least 7 minutes long if you're looking to draw in an audience from YouTube search directory. Okay. So here it is. Fourth tip. You want content that's at least 7 minutes long. Why? It's the same thing with Google. They're looking for content that's going to satisfy the user's query. Okay. The searcher is looking for information, a lot of how to's videos on YouTube, demonstration videos on YouTube, how to do things. And if you have a demonstration that's 35 seconds long, the odds are you didn't go into very much detail. So the length of time is a clue to YouTube that you're actually fully satisfying the person's request for information when they search for it. So on Google, I've told you guys countless times, you want to aim at 1,500 words per page so that you have a good shot of landing on the number one page on YouTube, on Google. With YouTube, it's 7 minutes or more of content to give yourself a good shot of landing on the first page of YouTube in the search results. Now, if you have a custom thumbnail and 7+ minutes of video, you have a great shot of making that first page of YouTube and getting people to come over. Now, there's more to it, and we're going to talk about some of this other stuff for some of the other platforms. So I'm going to move on. Facebook. What do we want to do on Facebook? Well, Facebook is an interesting beast because Facebook is a pay-to-play space for posting. It's really hard to go viral on Facebook because Facebook is trying to get you to promote your content. It is what it is. You can understand it, agree with it, disagree, it doesn't matter. It just is what it is, right? This is Facebook. But you can still do really well on Facebook. Reels do really well on Facebook. So that Reels on Facebook is like shorts on YouTube. Okay, same idea. Short media content up to 10 minutes long, which isn't really short, but anyways, you can do Reels up to 10 minutes long. So you can do, I think, 60 seconds, 3 minutes, or 10 minutes are their categories. But I suggest Reels. They do really well. You want to have music, again, custom thumbnail, all that stuff, just like with YouTube. But here's another thing. There are groups, lots and lots of groups. And groups, unlike the main feed, and this is true on LinkedIn too, by the way, groups are a great way to go about finding concentrated audience for a variety of reasons, including this. This is the main reason. Most people don't even know this. The main reason why groups are so successful on Facebook and LinkedIn, because the audience has chosen to be there about that topic. So you know they're interested for whatever reason. They're interested in that topic. You don't know why they're interested, but they're interested in it. So you have an interested group. But the other thing is there's no algorithm. Whatever the most recent post is, besides for if they've pinned one, and that just means they take somebody's post somewhere and they said, hey, we want everybody to see this so they can pin it to the top. Okay. But other than the pinned content, what you're going to see next is just the most recent. So it's, first in, first out. It's FIFO for those of you who remember that acronym from your business college days, right? But the first one in will be on the top. And then when someone posts again, that one will go on top and push it down one and so forth, right? So everybody who goes to that group page, if you have the most recent post, will see it. It isn't algorithm dependent, like, hey, you're going to see this and I'm going to see that. As far as I know, no platform, no social media platform has implemented an algorithm inside of a group. So it's a huge advantage. Now on LinkedIn, another advantage is if you're in a group, if you're on LinkedIn, oh man, I almost want to show you, but I don't want to break LinkedIn's rules. I'm not supposed to like pull up LinkedIn and teach LinkedIn on these things. So I don't want to break the rules. So I'll just tell you, okay. If you're on LinkedIn and you want to contact somebody in the group, you can actually reach out to them and they don't have to have premium. You don't have to have premium. You don't have to be connected. So if you're in the same group, let's say we're both in a marketing group together and you want to reach out to me. Now I have premium, so you don't even need to do that. You could just message me and it'll go through because I have the premium. Won't charge you an in-mail or anything like that, right? But if you're in the same group, you can go through the directory inside the group and then find the person by using the search bar, right? Type in their name, Ira Bowman, it'll pull me up, and then you can message me through the group for free on LinkedIn. Kind of a neat little workaround for not being connected and not having a premium, right? Because I know a lot of people can't afford it. It's expensive. So there you go. But that's one way to do it. So join a group that they're in, go through the directory of the group, find them, then you can message them. There's a free tip for you on LinkedIn. But again, you want to create posts if you missed this tip. So this is tip 5 or 5th tip. It's really for Facebook, but it also works for LinkedIn too. All right, so a little bit wordy, but here it is. Oh, I can't see it. What's going on? I don't know. My LinkedIn watching this thing is not working real good. Okay. Well, I can't pull up the tip though because I can't see it. All right. Let me just retype it again. Oh no, it showed up here. Okay, good. It's not showing up on LinkedIn, but it's showing up on my StreamYard. So whatever's going on there. All right. For Facebook, for LinkedIn too, use groups, post often in the groups. Again, we're trying to increase your visibility. We're trying to increase your effectiveness in reaching new people and drawing in prospects to hopefully convert them into your clients or customers, however you want to call it. Okay. So groups, join groups. I think on Facebook you can join up to 50 groups. I know that's the limit on LinkedIn is 50. So join as many as you can about the things that you're most interested in or you're trying to represent, right? For me, it's digital marketing, SEO, photography, graphic design, right? Find your groups, join the groups, post in those groups about the things, give helpful tips. Again, tips. Go back to tip number one. It should be what? It should be educational, or it should be entertainment, or it should be personal. Now, personal in the groups, probably not. Okay. Educational or entertainment. But then also keep in mind each group has an admin or an admin team that's written some rules. And if you break the rules, they'll kick you out of the group. So don't, just be careful that you do that. And I will say this. I think it is a giant monumental mistake. In fact, this is going to be tip 6 because this is a big one. This probably should be higher on the list. These are not in order of importance. Let me just say it that way. All right. Do not All right, I'm going to say it like this, and this will make sense to you after I explain it. All right. So here's the deal. I see this so much, it hurts my head. It really does. Do not share the same content. Let's say you belong to 30 groups and you just made a post. And you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy that post and I'm going to share it in 30 groups. You are going to be spamming other people so much. They're going to look at you as a spammer because all you're doing is self promoting. That's what they're going to see it as, whether you intended it that way or not. Right. So, what do? Like, let's say you have an Instagram channel, a Facebook channel, a YouTube channel. You have all of them because Ira told me. Ira said, create one. And, like, shouldn't I share? I've got this content. I can share it. Right. Yes. But mix it up. So, let's say you have 3 posts, post 1, 2, and 3. You might share post 1 on LinkedIn today, post 2 on Facebook today, post 3, let's say on Instagram and X today. Okay. But you've mixed it up. And then tomorrow you just mix up the numbers. So same 3 posts, or let's say it's 7 because we got 7 channels. So you just mix it up. And why do you do that? Well, you do it for a variety of reasons. But the number one thing is if people are following you on multiple channels, which they likely are, so they might be following you on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, for example. If you put up the same video on all 3 of those platforms every single time, basically simultaneously, I mean, obviously it's going to be off by a couple seconds because you got to go to each platform and do the thing, right? Make the post. But why would they want to follow you if on every time they go to your profile, they're seeing the exact same thing at the exact same time? So, like, it doesn't make sense, right? So, one of the reasons why you mix it up is because it's better for your followers, your friends, your subscribers. Every platform calls it something different, but your audience, it's better for your audience if you give them variety. But the other reason why we like to mix it up is because of the algorithms. They may be connected to you on LinkedIn, but the algorithm didn't show you the feed. So they didn't see that post, right? They come back tomorrow, they may not ever see it. But if they're following you on other platforms and you're mixing it up, they have a better chance of seeing it throughout. So you're doing it because you don't want to wear people out. You want to keep it interesting. By following me on different channels, you're going to see some different things. There are videos I only share on TikTok. There are videos I only share on Facebook. There are videos I only share on LinkedIn. I don't share all my same content all the time. But when I do share the same content, it's usually not at the same time. I mix up the days that I share it. Okay. If you go from group to group to group and share the same thing that you just posted about in your main feed, you're going to lose people. We're trying to help you create friendly practices that encourage pro growth. And it isn't about becoming a rock star, celebrity, or an influencer or anything like that. I really don't care about that. I don't care about that. Right. And I have more followers than most people on most platforms, but I don't care about that. I really want to educate them what I do and build those referral sources. I get business all the time from people that I've never met that referred me to somebody that they knew who needed a website built, or they couldn't find themselves on Google, and they're like, "Hey, I need somebody who can help me g- get my rankings up on Google." And I get plenty of people out there who say, "Hey, if you're obscure on Google or you're on page 10 of Google and you want to be on page 1, you know who does that? Ira. Ira, contact Ira. That's what you want." So you don't want to wear people out. It's not about the masses, although it is nice to have a bigger reach because you can influence more people. But if you build your content in friendly ways and you don't wear people out with the same stuff on every platform, they're more likely to stick with you on every platform. I'll follow you on every platform as long as you're not posting the same thing on every channel. And every time I go to a different channel and you're in my feed, I see the same thing. And I was like, man, I've seen this show 5 times. I'm bored of this show. Let me mute this person, right? You don't want to be muted. Okay. Tip number 7, I'm going to talk about hashtags. Now, I already kind of gave it away earlier, but with tip 7, the 7th tip, you want to find hashtags that have a significant following, but not huge following. And it sounds counterproductive, but let me tell you, it's actually really smart. And here's why. Let me write this down first, though. Right? 7th tip. Sorry, I wish I could type and talk at the same time. Something different, but I can't. So you guys are stuck with that. If you watch this show for any amount of time, you know that already. All right. So here we go. So the 7th tip is to use medium to smaller hashtags. Now, I'm not talking about the length, how long they are. Like, aren't you glad it's Friday versus Friday? Right? I'm not talking about that. How many characters is not the main thing here. It's just how many followers the hashtag has. Like Instagram, when you start typing out the hashtag, I love what they do. They try to autofill it for you, and LinkedIn, Facebook, I think a lot of them do that. But Instagram actually shows you how many people follow it, right? It's a little bit trickier on some of the other platforms to figure this out, but it's worth the time to figure out. And here's why. With hashtags, right? And y'all know it's the pound sign or the tic tac toe sign, whatever you want to call it, right? For me, it's the number sign. But you want to use that symbol and then start typing. Like I always use a couple. You might notice in my post BDM, which is an acronym for Bowman Digital Media. And then my first name is Ira. So I always use BDM and Ira. Those are like my personal branding hashtags. You can find any of my content pretty much on any of the platforms by just searching either of those. So those are my personal branding hashtags. I'm not talking about those, although they certainly would qualify for this too. Okay. Um, if I'm doing a photography shoot of a let's just take the haircut example the other day. So I did the haircut. I did baby's first haircut. I did haircut photography, stuff like that. I could have used photography that has over 1 billion followers on Instagram, but I would never. I don't use it. Why not? Well, here's why. Because there's so many people who use it. It's never going to be served up, at least in not great quantity. I might get one extra view from it. Well, hashtags, you want to bring in more followers. You want to bring in you want more people to see it. That's why you're using the hashtag. Okay. So if you use a hashtag that's smaller, the algorithm, when people search for that one, doesn't have as much content options to serve up. So you're increasing your chance of not only being promoted a little bit, but by a lot. You can get more viewers. If they like your content, they can follow you, subscribe to you, send you a friend request, whatever. Okay. Hashtags are really designed to invite people to the post, to see the post, who wouldn't already see the post. They're not in your circle. They're not following you. They're not subscribed to your channel. They're not a friend None of those things. You want to bring strangers from the peripheral sphere, all the people that are outside, they never see your stuff, they don't know you exist, but they're interested in that topic. And you're saying, hey, if you want to see something about this topic, I've got something about this topic, right? So there you go. Use hashtags. Now, as a general rule of thumb, I try to find hashtags that have a follower, subscriber, however they say it on each platform, it's different, but number of people associated with that hashtag. I want to try to find something that's over 1,000. If it's under 1,000, there's not enough people to make it worthwhile. But under 100,000 is perfect. So somewhere in 5 figures is ideal. 4 to 5 figures is great, right? So if it's got 10,000, if it's got 7,500, if it's got 72,000, whatever, something like that, perfect. And then number of hashtags, I don't like to use more than 5. Sometimes I'll use up to 10, but I'll tell you a rule that I have, and this has nothing to do with the algorithm. There are people out there who say if you use too many hashtags, you'll get shadow banned or whatever. I don't know that that's true, but I will tell you this. Too many hashtags for the optics, the way they look, it makes it look spammy. It makes it look like it's garbage. So I typically will set up my post with no more than 2 solid rows of hashtags. I always put the hashtags at the bottom. I never put them in the middle. Hashtags belong like it's the reference section where you're explaining your references. It goes down at the bottom of your page for every platform. It works the same. And I will never use more than 2 rows. Now, that again, that is my personal preference. If you use 3 rows or 4 rows, I know some of them limit it to 50. You can't use more than 50 hashtags. But let me tell you, you should be nowhere close to 50. Nowhere close. That's like tagging all these random people, which don't do that, by the way. I'm so tired of it. I think everybody's tired of it. You got some person you never met, you connected with them somehow from some post somewhere. You thought they were cool, and then they're tagging you in all their posts. Don't do that. Don't tag 99 people in a post. It's just turning people off. I actually have started to delete people from my connection lists if they tag me in a post with 100 other people because they don't care about me. They're just trying to use me to build their own visibility. And I'm not about that. I'm all for win-win. Let's help each other out. If you want to tag me in a post, the post should have something to do with me directly. Thanks, Ira, for the free consultation. You know, I give people free consultations all the time. I never see people post and say, hey, thank you, Ira, for giving me that free time. So a post like that, I would really appreciate because I give people a half hour all the time, right? For free. I give them just like I'm giving you. Now we're in overtime here, but you know, uh, actionable tips, free tips on things they can do to increase their performance. And you know, a thank you would be nice. That's all I'm saying. So a post like that would be cool, right? But you have some random commercial for some product I've never heard of. I don't use it. I'm not interested in buying it. And you've tagged me with 100 other people in it. No, thank you. Don't do that. Don't spam people. Treat people like people and you'll be much more successful, right? Show them gratitude. Be kind. Be courteous, right? Be respectful of their time. Don't try to manipulate them. These are all fundamental strategies. Now, I haven't shared a tip for TikTok yet. In full disclosure, TikTok is my weakest platform. So I'm going to give you some advice, but take it with a grain of salt because I'm not great at TikTok. But I will say this. There are really kind of 3 channels on TikTok, 3 ways to go about building a channel on TikTok. And they really follow the same 3 categories with one caveat. Obviously, there's a sexual component, which I'm not for it. I don't think there's a place for that, but that's my personal standard. Of course, there's plenty of people who disagree with me. So Again, take this for what it's worth. But you can educate, you can entertain, or you can do personal. Now, for business purposes, I think your channel should mostly be like a how-to channel or tips channel, right? So give people actionable advice. If you go to my TikTok, a lot of times, like the social media countdown, I did an abbreviated version. Or if I'm giving somebody a specific tip, it might be shorter. Now I know on TikTok you can go up to 10 minutes, but my Bowman Digital Media, or it's Ira Bowman, but I use it for Bowman Digital Media. My TikTok channel is all about education. I did a lot of them on how to use LinkedIn. So if you're interested in how to use LinkedIn, go find Ira Bowman's TikTok channel and check out. There's a lot of videos. I go through a lot of different things on how to improve your LinkedIn channel on TikTok. Why? Well, I was trying to build my TikTok following, and my LinkedIn following is my biggest following. So I thought, well, maybe if I teach people on TikTok how to use LinkedIn, that'll help me build my right. Like that was my thought. It didn't really work, but it was my thought. But like I said, TikTok is my weakest by far of all of the other platforms. Now, what on Pinterest I want to show people. I don't know if I want to share my screen. Yeah, I can. All right. So let me share my screen. I'm going to show you something that you may or may not know, but you have these things called extensions, and there's one called Pinterest. Okay. So if you go with Pinterest, if you have it loaded, you can go to a photo and make a pin right from any of your web pages. So any photo, any video, you can just create the Pinterest pin. Oh, maybe not on the video there because of the way I've done it. But see right here, I can create a pin, and I'm going to do it right now just to show you. So I can save that to the board. It's called Bowman Digital Media, but I can view it. So I'm going to show you that it's there. Where did it go? Oh, here. Is it? I'm not sure if it's coming or not. Let me open up my Pinterest. I'll be right back. Hang on a second. Live TV doesn't always work the way it's supposed to, but it makes it. The reason why I like this extension is it makes it really easy to oh, that's funny. I just found somebody that's cloned me. That's really interesting. Yeah, it is what it is. I used to worry about people cloning me, but now I just know there's nothing you can really do about it. The platforms don't care for whatever reason. Oh, where's the board? Here we go. All right. So how does this work? Let me share my screen. I'm already sharing it, but I'm gonna share. Okay, so here's one that I pinned. Bowman Digital Media website design and management. We pinned this thing, right? And then this is somebody who's calling me, by the way. That's not really me. But it takes the pin takes them to my website. If you click on this, it opens up, and here you can see it opens up to my homepage, right? But here's why I love Pinterest so much. Everything you're doing on social media auspiciously should be to draw people in, to build the affinity with you, to build the trust factor with you, but then to draw them over to your website. Pinterest makes this super simple because it embeds the link in the photo over to the website, the source website. So here's my Pinterest tip for you. This is tip number 8. 8th tip. All right, long one, long tip, but here it is. All right. Make sure that you pin every single photo on your website, whether it's in your blog, homepage, contact, but it doesn't matter. Whatever page, about us page, all that stuff. You want to pin every single one of the photos on your website using the extension tool makes it simple, or you can do it manually. But you know, the fact is this: there's two advantages here. First of all, if they see the pin and they click on it, it'll take them to your website. That's great. But also, it's an extra backlink, and your website is getting judged in part, not in full, but in part by Google by how many backlinks off of the website that point back to your website. Well, you can create free backlinks using Pinterest, and you should. So, looking at the time, we are now 90 minutes into a 1 hour show, which has pretty much become a 90-minute show, and I'm fine with that. But, anyways, unless there are any questions, if you're still watching the show live and you have a question and I haven't answered it yet, please re-ask it now. But otherwise, I'm going to wrap the show up. And I think next week we're going to do the show on funnels. I like that idea. So we'll look at, what are funnels, how to build funnels, some tips that I'll give you for, including in your funnels. And then the question earlier by Lisa in Vegas was, well, how much does it cost? And I told her, well, at least at my company, it takes $500 to $1,000 is the range there, and takes like 2 to 3 days to get it done. But a sales funnel, yeah, how do we pin those pictures? Great question. So I use the extension. Let me share one more time. So what I would do, I can go to any website, but I'm on Bowman Digital Media. So let me go to, I'm zoomed in. Hang on a second. I forgot I zoomed in. So you can go to any picture. So let's say I go to my social media management page and I want to pin this picture. Because I have the Chrome extension, you just come up here in your extensions and load Chrome. Okay, save to Pinterest is the name of it. But now I can just click on this and hit the save button, and it automatically creates it for me. Okay, and so now it's on my board, Bowman Digital Media. So it's really easy if you get the Chrome extension. If you don't, you go over to your Pinterest account and load it up. You have to load up the picture manually. So you have to have the picture, which you should if it's on your website, right? It's in your media kit if you don't have it. Or you can just right click and save the picture as, I guess, right? And then take that. And then when you load it up, make sure you add the link, right? So in this case, I would want to add this link to that photo in the Pinterest pin. So you can do it with the extension really easily. It automatically brings the link in, or you can manually do it on Pinterest and do it that way. But loading pins on Pinterest is a great way. Yeah, my pleasure. Like I said, that's it's great for SEO. It's great for bringing people, again, social media. We're trying to drive people to your website. That's really what we want to do. They get to know you on social media. You build a rapport with them. You establish some trust with them. Then when they come over, they're far less likely to bounce. They're far more likely to reach out to you for some help because they've already established some like and some trust. It's important. But when they come over to your website, then the website should be able to convert them from visitor all the way through conversion, which should be booking a consultation in people like me's case, right? I don't have anything for sale per se on the website, even though my products and prices are described. You can't send me an order from the website. You have to book the consultation. We walk through the process with you to make sure it's a good fit, and then if you want, you can sign up. But if you have an e-commerce site where you are selling stuff directly, then your conversion would be getting from people over from Google or from social media or from the email or the text message or the sign, wherever they're seeing you, getting them from wherever they are, drawing them into your website, and then converting them to a client. That's the process. That's the natural flow. Everything should center from where they are, getting them to your website, and then your website funneling them from top of funnel down to bottom of funnel. right? That's an oversimplified view, but it's a pretty simple chart, and that's the flow chart, right? Last tip, final tip. Too many people on their websites, they're on your website and you're highlighting, follow us on social media, find us on social media. It's a mistake. I want you to think about it this way. The end of the road is your website. You don't want them to leave the website. Got my mom watching. Hello, Mom. I don't know if she's at home or on a cruise, but she's always one or the other. All right, she's retired. And retired people cruise because they can. That's what my mom will tell you. All right. But if you're on your website, don't make the social media icons prominent. Don't make them the shiny, irresistible thing. Because why? Because people would be leaving your website to go over to your social media page. The direction of traffic you want, the flow of the direction is from social media to your website, not from your website to social media. You don't want them to leave. You want them to stay. You want them to consume your content. And then when they do leave, you want them to come back to the website. So use social media to educate your audience, to entertain your audience, to share some personal stuff with your audience, to build the trust factor, to build the likability, but then draw them in to the website. That's what the funnels are for. The funnels were designed specifically to take people from visitor and convert them into client. Okay. Anyways, my name is Ira Bowman. I hope this has been helpful. We shared 8 tips on social media. I'm just going to go through and recap real fast. Okay. So tip 1, posts should always be educational, entertainment, or personal. I recommend 60 to 70% be educational, 20 to 30% can be entertainment, and 10 to 15% can be personal. And I would keep it to those ratios pretty much across all platforms. You want to break your media or your content up a little bit. If it's long form, 300 plus words, you need to break it up a little bit, make it easy to digest. One of the tips that I suggested was using emojis as bullet points. So you'd use one emoji. And I specifically like the diamond or the check mark for this. Okay. Number 3 is make sure you're setting up thumbnail images for your YouTube videos. Okay. And you actually can do that for all videos, but I specifically called that out for YouTube. For YouTube, also create content that is at least 7 minutes long. That's going to help you with the algorithm and to place higher in the search results. Okay. Tip number 5 was for Facebook primarily, but also for LinkedIn, use groups, post often because they don't use algorithms. They simply show the newest material on the top. So you want to come back often. The 6th tip was do not share the same content on all groups and platforms at the same time at the same day. In other words, you need to mix up your channels so that they have independent information on each one on any given day. Tip 7, use medium to smaller hashtags. I'm not talking about the length of the hashtag as much as I am the follower count. And the reason why is because your content will get served up more frequently if you're using smaller hashtags. There's less content for them to choose from. Tip number 8 was for Pinterest. Make sure you are pinning each photo to your website using the Pinterest Chrome extension, or you do it manually if you have to, because it gives you backlinks and helps drive website traffic. Now, I didn't mention any tips for X. I'll say with X, remember the shelf life. And I did talk about this already, but just remember the shelf life of a tweet is only 7 minutes long. So if you're going to live on Twitter or X now, you got to post a lot in a given day, like 20 times a day. It really takes quite a bit. Okay. So anyways, with that, I think I've covered all the platforms. Don't forget, you can find the article that has all the demographics information in it on my website. I've been sharing this throughout the show, but here's where you can find the article. The link is in the comments. And that has last week's show, which was the precursor. This is part 2 of how to improve on social media. So make sure you go and check that out. I share the largest platforms for social media. I share the demographics. I share some interesting analytical and demographic information to help you figure out which platforms you should be posting on. And if you take into account everything I've said today and combine it with everything that I taught last week, you will, without a doubt, increase your following, your connections, your visibility, your engagement. All of those things will go up because you'll be doing much better. Your strategy will be much more comprehensive on social media, and that isn't for vanity's sake. It's the whole point of this is to help you grow, and that's what I'm here for, right? So, anyways, if you like this show, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. We will be back next week at a regular scheduled time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time. You can time correct for wherever you want. Again, next week's topic will be on funnels, thanks to the request from Lisa of Las Vegas. Appreciate y'all being in the comments. Have a great day, everybody.